Here we go. It's not the sheet. We have time. Good attendance and support
one of
for
these
you
two.
later, Bob. I haven't been.
You did?
Yeah, it looks correct to me. Here's mine. It says to Avon, so not Avon to Avon.
It's 7 o'clock. My name is Vince Noblet, President of the Speedway Town Council. I want to call this session to order. First off, I'd like to introduce our council. Eileen Fisher on my far right.
Good evening.
David Lindsay on my immediate right.
Good evening.
My far left, Gary Pettigo.
Good evening.
And next to me is Gary Rakes.
Good evening.
Vice President. On my far right is our town manager, Grant KLEINHENZ.
Good evening.
Far left, Bob Clutter, our town attorney.
Howdy do.
And next to him is our town treasurer, Jacob Bladesdale.
Good evening.
Would everybody please stand? Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is the minutes. These minutes have been previously distributed to the council. If there's no changes or corrections, we'll approve them as submitted. Hearing none, they're approved. Next on the agenda is a special event request for a neighborhood block party. Brocky Brown. Good evening.
Hello, you all. I've got a map of the area that I want to have a block party on. I'll just sort of look at it. And exactly where it is. And have you all seen this? You have? And the idea, of course, is for a block party on Whitcomb Street, which I don't think there's ever been one before. And I've talked to some of the neighbors, and they say great, but obviously I need your approval and the approval of our safety experts back here. I put a picture in there of what kind of blockade I'm picturing on the street. And I'm also thinking we would hold it on the 500 Festival of Homes Celebration Day and do it that Wednesday after school's out, so from like 4 o'clock until maybe 8. What else do I need to tell you?
I'm not sure, Brian. You have any other questions for Brocky?
Yeah, I've sent my application in. CHERYL sent that to me, 14
What's the
pages
timeline on
of
this,
information.
Brocky?
Timeline?
Yeah.
Wednesday, August 25th,
What time's it starting and what time's it ending?
4 o'clock, and then probably end at 8.
Okay. And
So it's
then
the afternoon.
are you responsible for setting up the barricades or?
Be happy to, whatever you want. So I don't have them, so I need to come get them.
Okay.
And of course, I would love for the $150 charge to be waived. I don't know if you can do that or not, but if we set it up, and I don't plan to do a lot in the street. It would be all in the yards, barbecue pits in the yards. I might get some music there, games for kids. I would love to have traffic, limited to be homeowners only, not close it down for throughway, so people can be in the street and not worry about traffic much.
Okay.
But I think it'd be fun, and I think it's going to encourage people on our street to decorate for the festival too. So, and of course, we would love to have the drivers come down our street and honk and wave in celebration of that too.
Okay. Yeah, I got to ask our police chief, Chuck, what's your thoughts on?
Oh, it should not be a problem for us. No, we won't have manpower to staff the closures, but it shouldn't present a problem to the police department.
Okay.
I'm seeing it closing off one half of the road and just saying, as the picture shows that, so.
Bob, do you have any?
That's a wide thoroughfare, so I think it'd be great for those families to be able to get out. There's a lot of kids on that street, so definitely closing it at both ends would be good, because we'll get out and move them if we have to, if you have a medical event or something.
Okay.
As long as we have one lane free, I think you're good.
To verify the date, Rocky, when did you?
August 25th.
You mean May 25th?
May.
What, I put August in? Yeah, I put August on there, May 25th. Thank you so much. I get the big things right, Mary normally catches that, but yeah, May 25th.
Sorry.
No,
David
it's
doesn't miss time.
my fault. I don't know why I thought August. But May 25th is the day, and thank you, Dave, for catching that.
Cheryl, did you have anything to
I
add?
did, thank you. I've already talked to Rob that night, the street department, sorry. I wondered what this meant. I have talked to Rob Wetnight with the street department, and they were fine providing the barricades and that nature. Brock may end up moving some of them himself, but they can provide that information.
Well, that's great.
Who's invited?
What?
Who's invited?
Everybody. Of course, we'll focus on our street first. But yeah, it'd be open to everybody, especially have music. We'd love to have you come. So all that'd be good.
That's great.
As it relates to the fee waiver, if you're so inclined, you, of course, have the authority to do that because it's your own ordinance. So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the special event permit application as presented by Brock Brown and amended for May 25 of 2022,
Yeah, thank you.
and that we waive the fee.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of the proposal or request for neighborhood block party on Whitcomb on May 25th, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, Bracky.
Thank you. I have one other idea I want to throw at you. And then I'll be gone. Bob says, don't take more than 2 minutes. This is a picture of a block party trailer that's become very popular in Texas, Colorado, and some other states for cities to put together a block party trailer that actually has a lot of the tools you'd need for a block party. And the picture of the one here is from Grand Junction, Colorado. They don't charge for using it, but people have to sign up for it like 30 days in advance. They started it, like I mentioned here, in 2019. Very popular. They're having Zoom meetings where hundreds of others are attending on Zoom, talking about the success of these block party trailers. And Grand Junctions was paid for by a community development grant, something like we have received recently. So I'm not proposing it. I'm planting the idea, and if you give me the okay to proceed with it, I'll certainly do some research and send it to you and make it be a formal possibility for the town.
Yeah, I think I'd like to understand how the insurance stand, how do we protect the town when you have citizens out there that would be taking it and driving it on the public streets.
I've done a little bit of looking into that, and there's all kind of ways legally to make it safe for the town and inexpensive, and also, but to build community is the ultimate outcome of it. And
But
so-
I think that another option that would be inexpensive on something like that there is a trailer in town, the Lions own it.
Correct.
And I'm sure that if you came before the board, you could ask them at that point in time until we get up enough funds or something that if it does look like it's going to be used on a regular basis, then it makes sense to go at something like that.
That'd be fine. I'd be happy to talk to Lions Club about that. But you guys need to, be up on all for it too, and safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, thank you for
Thanks,
coming on.
Rocky.
All right. Thanks. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Resolution 2022-06, a resolution of the Town Council of Speedway approving the transfer and use of police firearms. Grant?
Yes, so The police department has no further use for the items listed in Exhibit A. They are 2 rifles. The serial numbers are identified there, their caliber, model, etc. They are getting $1,000 a piece from the Avon Police Department for those. So we would recommend that you declare these as surplus and authorize that sale to Avon Police Department.
Mr. President, I make a motion, we approve Resolution 2022-06. However, the third paragraph under whereas, the first part of it says the Avon, Indiana Police Department. I believe that needs to say the Speedway, Indiana Police Department. It needs to be changed to that. And with that amendment, I make a motion, we accept it as presented. Second. Eileen?
Okay. Got a motion and a second. I'll open it up for discussion. Any comments or discussion? Grant, what's the life expectancy of a firearm? I have no idea. You'd know, David, probably. Chuck?
I would say as long as it shoots.
Firearms are still very functional. Those are old firearms that we changed calibers. Those are 40 calibers. And they used to be in use by the SWAT team. And we have replaced those rifles. And they're just sitting in our armory now and not being used. And the funds will come back to the general fund. So we just don't have a use for them anymore.
So long as they're cared for, they can
Yes.
last a long time.
Long time?
Yes.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of Resolution 2022-06 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is Ordinance 1356, an ordinance amending the town code of Speedway, chapters 10.12, relating to semi-trucks and unplated, abandoned, or inoperable vehicles. Grant?
Yeah, so I'm going to turn this over to Bob. I will say we adopted this ordinance about a month ago. After that, I think there was some other research that found some of the time instances needed to be changed. So I was going to turn that over to Bob to identify those.
Yeah, so that, and additionally, we had gotten some input from Joe Kramer on things that might be a little bit more workable. So the changes are very minor in nature. There are 2 occasions when it was changed from 72 hours to 24 hours, the time frame between when the vehicle was ticketed and towed. That was permitted under state law. And then the other substantive changes are just that the fine amounts of $50 and that the violations need to be paid at the Speedway Police Department Violations Bureau rather than at the clerk treasurer's office, which makes more sense because that's where people would go to pay tickets anyway. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but would respectfully request your approval of ordinance number 1356 entitled An Ordinance Amending Town Code of Speedway Chapter 10.12 relating to semi-trucks and unplated, abandoned, or inoperable vehicles.
Okay. Is there a motion for ordinance 1356?
Mr. President, I make a motion, we adopt ordinance 1356 as described by our town attorney. Second.
You got a motion and a second. Is there any questions to Bob tonight or Grant? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of ordinance 1356 signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the ARPA funds resolution. Jacob?
Yep, thank you. As you know, the town was awarded funds under the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, that was passed as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. The town's awarded about $2.76 million under that act. That was our town's allocation. But like all federal funds, it came with some reporting and compliance requirements. And in doing that, U.S. Treasury had been getting feedback on that process. And the final rule that they passed gave effectively an allowance on how much could be used for revenue replacement. And a lot of that to give smaller communities that got less than $10 million some relief. You can allocate up to $10 million and use that for revenue replacement purposes. And so that's going to be the most straightforward, efficient way to comply. Otherwise, you've got to kind of list off every dollar, and there's a lot going on with that over several years. So that's our plan, since we're under that $10 million, to go ahead and utilize them as revenue replacement. It leaves a little bit of ambiguity around passing a plan then, because when we were receiving the funds, part of the application was to pass an ordinance 1341, which required to stipulate a plan, and now we're using it as revenue replacement. But discussing between Grant and Bob and I, we felt like going ahead and passing a resolution was kind of the clearest, most public, transparent way to handle this. So out of abundance of caution, we wanted to go ahead and pass a resolution. So that's what's presented to you now. We, of course, have talked about the water rate study plan, and part of that assumes that we're going to take $2 million of the ARPA funds and allocate them to water projects. So this specifies that, but then the remainder of the funds to be used for general revenue or general government purposes for the revenue replacement. So it's, again, we're doing this to kind of comply with the various reporting requirements, just to make that easier and more streamlined. Just also utilize those funds to kind of help with the downturn and the revenue decrease that we saw during 2020 and 2021. And I'll be happy to take any questions.
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that we approve Resolution 2022-07 as presented.
I second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Are there any other questions of Jacob concerning 2022-07?
I think you did a good job explaining it.
Okay. Hearing no discussion, we call for a vote of Resolution 2022-07. It's on the replacement of the ARP funds described by our town clerk treasurer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is the approval of claims and utility adjustments. Jacob?
Claims presented to you represent those made between April 9th through May 6th. And I'll be happy to take any questions or would appreciate your approval.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the claims as presented to us by Clerk Treasurer.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion on the claims as presented by town clerk treasurer? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the claims as presented by the town clerk treasurer, please signify by saying aye for approval.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Jacob? Utilities?
Utility adjustments. The utility adjustments represent the same time period, April 9th through May 6th. I will note there is one fairly significant leak adjustment on this report. We had a customer who was out of town over the winter and had a pretty significant leak in their basement. And unfortunately, we were estimating at that time, so the leak went unnoticed for a period of time then. So I bring that up just in the interest of pointing your attention to it, but also to kind of mention to the public that if you're going to be gone over the winter months, sometimes we, due to weather, end up having to estimate. So you could have a leak and it's going to be going for a while. We're not going to see it and flag it and let the homeowner know. until we get that read. So you can contact our office and we will go out and turn it off at the meter, or at the very least turn it off the service line into your house. But we can just shut it off at the meter so you don't have to worry about it. And then it's a minor fee. It's like $25 to get that reconnected then when you get back. So it's a very easy way to avoid a situation like this.
That's a good point. Okay, is there a motion for approval of the utility adjustments?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the utility adjustments as presented by the clerk treasurer.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Open up discussions. Any questions for Jacob?
That's a significant amount. The one you described specifically, it's a significant amount. There's no, it's permissible.
Yeah, and it's adjusting the sewer because it's was leaking out in this person's basement. So we're able to do that. And
I'm sure the repairs in the basement will be enormous.
And we're working with the homeowner because he's been very helpful and understands the situation and his responsibility in this. The repair itself actually wasn't very expensive to do, but the leak, of course, caused damage, quite a bit of damage in the basement.
Just so the public, he is still paying a portion of his bill.
Oh, the water side, yeah.
$5,000.
Yeah.
He'll have a pretty significant
So we
bill there.
we aren't completely waiving the cost. He's still paying a portion of that bill.
Oh, yeah, he's still paying a portion of his bill, yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
And we're going to work with him on a payment plan for that as well.
Oh, good. Hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of the utility adjustments as presented by your town clerk treasurer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next is a report from the department supervisors. Our police chief, Chuck Upchurch.
Good evening, council. Good evening. As you're all aware, our greatest month of the year is here, and our busiest. So just a reminder that we do have racing events coming up, and we will be enforcing our racing parking for the Grand Prix. That will start on May 12th at 6 p.m. And then the following weekend will be our qualification weekend, and parking enforcement will begin on May 19th at 6 p.m. And then the Indy 500 weekend with Carb Day and the race weekend, that will begin race parking enforcement on May 26th at 6 p.m. So, and our officers are always very good about going up, and we realize that those streets are used all year round, and sometimes people forget that race parking is going into effect, and they do go up and try to make every effort to see if we can get the vehicles moved before we have to tow or ticket. So just a reminder to everyone to keep in mind we do have race parking coming up. So, and our second item was on April 25th, we swore in Adam Bandy as our newest police officer for the town. Adam comes to us from the Greenwood Police Department, where he served as a sergeant for several years. So Adam is currently an FTO, and he's moving through very quickly, and he's going to be a welcome addition to the police department. And that's all I have tonight.
Can you give us an update on Ray? Tice?
On Ray, yes. Ray is recuperating well. He is back to light duty, and he is. It's going to be a while before he's back to full duty, but he was very lucky in that crash that occurred, and there's been a large outpouring from the police department, and we're making sure Ray's taken care of. So, but he is doing well at this point. So it doesn't look like there's going to be any permanent damage, hopefully. So
That's great. I
Yes.
saw him out the mini.
Yes.
He wasn't running.
no,
But,
no,
He was watching.
very lucky. He and the other gentleman that were out trying to move the car out of the street that day were both very lucky in that crash. So, and we always caution folks when they see emergency lights to slow down and make sure they move over. And unfortunately, it was just a bad day that day for Ray and that other gentleman, but they were very lucky. So, but they are doing well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions for the chief? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is our communication. Oh, you got another one. You trying the job. Last minute switch. Kind of mix it up.
We have to pay attention that way. Good evening. So tonight I'm going to talk specifically about events that are coming up in May. New to Speedway, new to the area, there's a lot of events, and that was very overwhelming for me to see that many. How do I keep track of the police reports being put out about traffic restrictions and the event dates, and where do the residents find that information? So first of all, I put together a website page on our town website, and it includes all the events for the month of May. Within that, there are links to either the parking restrictions information, the press releases that go out. There's event details. I've also included IMS events in there, so it's just kind of a one page to locate everything. So that's one of the items that I have put out there. I'll go through some of the events that are taking place. These do not include the IMS events. These are just basically the town events. So the first one will be the pop-up art shop on several weekends, May 13, 14, 19, 20, 21, 22, 27, 28, and 29. This is all on the website. Media Day, we are going to have a Media Day on May 11th. That will be for the Speedway Arts Council, for the mural that has recently been done on Main Street. A lot of positive feedback on that, a lot of participation from the residents. So we've invited in some of the media to take a look at it and hear the background story of it. We'll have some of council reps here, PPG, who provided the paint for the project, along with IMS representatives talking about that. May 15th is the taco run. Rockin' on Main will be May 27th. Rocking on Main, I've also created a separate website that has a lot of information on that specific event, which is Friday, May 27th, Carb Day. It runs from 5 to 10 p.m. We'll have a kids zone that will go from 5 to 7, bounce house games. And then for the event itself, we have 2 bands. We've condensed it a little bit this year, so it will be on Main Street from 14th to 16th. We'll have 1 stage. Everything will be located there. We have 2 bands playing. Barbender will start it out, and then we'll finish it with Living Proof. We'll have vendors, food trucks, some businesses. I've encouraged them to share with me also any kind of specials or promotions they have going on. We typically don't advertise for businesses, but for the month of May, we thought we would promote, because the purpose of the event is to bring attention and to help out, support the businesses. So have added that into it. That's really about it. So any questions? Nothing?
Are you getting any sleep?
I'm sorry?
Are you getting any sleep?
Yeah, between like 3 and 5 a.m. it seems. But it's been good. Next year will be better because I already have changes in plan.
No, that's good.
Okay.
No, the more the merrier. And
Yeah,
appreciate all the work that you do.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Chief Fishburn.
Good evening, Council and CHERYL. All I can say is welcome to the month of May. It's your first one. Grant, you too. You know, it's baptism by fire. So just also want to reiterate what Chuck said, getting ready for the 500 events. We started last Saturday with the Mini, assisting with EMS with 2 of our ATVs. We've completed all inspections with the exception of some of the tents that they'll be setting up at the Motor Speedway, all the new construction. We've got all of that ready to go. John Merritt and then John Russell will be doing the tents just to make sure all of those are weather ready. The state has a pretty rigorous process for that now ever since the state fair. So we also we've received, I think, 3 fireworks permits, all geared around events over there, which go through Indiana Homeland Security and then come to me. we sign those and send them back and tell them, here's what you need for a safe shoot, all of those things. But these are companies we've always worked with. So other than that, I want to say kudos to Rocky, because I think that really helps community. I know on MacArthur we have a block party every year. I know the Cars subdivision has a pretty big get together, and the people who want to come can come, and it encourages good community. So really appreciate that.
Chief, can tell if a resident is wanting to put a tent up, what do they do? What's the procedure on something like that?
Well, if it's a 10 by 10 pop-up tent that they have in their yard, we've never had to do anything for that. This is commercial tents that are on Main Street as a part of Rockin' on Main, or a part of the stage set up for those sorts of things. But other than that, if it's just the type of tent, you can buy it. If it's 10 by 20 pop-up, like what we've got, or 10 by 10s, there's really nothing they have to do. The month of May, in the Coca-Cola field, we don't enforce open burning because there's 400 campfires out there. So, things like that, it's pretty much status quo and what people are used to. So,
Right.
But if you're having a larger event, you should check with code enforcement, and they'll help you navigate all of those steps. So, it's a good question. Anything else?
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Tammy.
Hello. I'm going to go over some of our events through the parks. First, I want to mention this Friday at Meadowood Park at the gazebo, the high school's having their spring swing. It starts at 6:30. It's the 25th Street Jazz Band and Starlighters, so everybody's welcome. It's free. They will be taking donations to help their music department. But again, that's Meadowood Park, 6:30 this Friday, May 13th, the spring swing. So come out and get started to start enjoying some concerts. We have 9 concerts lined up for this summer. The first one is June 30th, and then the next one will be July 14th, and every Thursday through September 1st. So we're excited about that. And I wanted to give a shout out to some of the sponsors that that have committed and already taken care of their commitment. That would be Speedway Lions Club, Wessler Engineering, Alliance Insurance Company, Donegal Insurance Group, and the Miller family. So we thank those sponsors. We couldn't have these concerts without them. Tomorrow, a new Story Walk book will be installed at Meadowood Story Walk. The book is called The Noisy Snails. It's a race-themed children's story that is part of the Motorhead Garage series, so that should be a fun one for people to go out and start off the month of May around Meadowood Park. Summer camp registrations are still open. We're getting a lot registered, so it looks like it's going to be a real good full summer of camps. Swim lessons, or the swim evaluations that are happening, they're already full. So if, sorry if there's other people who want to do that, we're maxed out at the moment, so that's always good. We've got a new art project that we're wanting to kick off in Leonard Park, and I'm looking for volunteers. I need crocheters and knitters willing to volunteer to help us with a yarn art element that's going to help cover the fencing between the East Ball Diamond and the street department. We have a nice memorial bench there with the butterfly hummingbird garden, and it kind of gets lost with all the stuff behind the street department fence. So we're going to cover that fence, and then we're going to have a really cool yarn art project there. And so next Tuesday at 6:30 here at the Municipal Center, I'm going to be kicking off an info working session. So any crocheters or knitters who are interested, come to the Municipal Center at 6:30, bring some yarn, bring your hooks, and we'll talk about the project, what we're looking for, and actually get some of the elements started on that. If anybody has any questions on that, they can email me at tsmith@speedwayin.gov. If they can't make it and they still want to participate, just let me know in the email and I can send them the specs of the project. Giving an update on our Leonard Park improvements. If anybody's been over there, you see we've got a lot of cones and fencing up. They're starting to pour concrete as they get it around the ball diamonds for the bleachers and the companion pads. We're also installing new benches with companion pads. So a lot of activity going on out there at the park. And we're also working on upgrading the security cameras in both parks. That's ongoing as well. And I just want to remind people, it's that time of year, we're starting to get busy in the parks. I want to remind everybody of some of our rules in the park that we seem to have issues with a lot. Number one is our hours. The hours of the parks are dawn to dusk. The park is closed when it is dark. No one should be in the parks after dark, and that includes the park's parking lots. No smoking in the park, no bounce houses or inflatables, and please pick up after your pets. We do have a new pet waste station on the southeast side of Meadowood Park, compliments of local residents Janet and Ed Fullen. So thank you to the Fullens for their gift to the parks. And that's all I have today.
Do we have any questions for Tammy?
Keep up the good work.
Yeah,
Nice job,
Tammy.
Thank you.
I got one, Tammy.
Yes.
Has the damages to the parks, is that curtailed or from any,
Yes.
the restrooms and things?
So far this year, things are going well. I haven't had complaints. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully the upgrade to the security cameras will help. And then people, I love our community. They reach out when they see something, and we just want to keep encouraging people to do that. As I'm always saying, if you see something that doesn't look quite right and you're not sure, call the non-emergency line and let them check it out. We'd rather them hopefully curtail something that could be bad. Obviously, if emergency, call 911.
Sure.
But
Do you have a time frame on the park improvements when they'll be should be completed? Or?
for Leonard,
Yeah.
I really don't, because they're having trouble getting concrete, so they have to get concrete on a schedule, and then they come out and they prepare for whatever amount of concrete they can get, and then they have to wait and get on a schedule again. So it's going to be delayed longer than we originally planned, but that's because of supply issues with the concrete.
Great, thank you.
But we've got concrete coming. I think they were pouring some today, actually.
Good.
Yeah. I was just going to point out, I appreciate the additional cameras that you're putting in. And I know last summer it actually did, the cameras work. You found where folks were not necessarily abiding by either agreements in the shelters or
Right.
other areas of the park. And so those tools have worked well for us.
Yeah.
For us.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Ronnie, our Public Works.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening.
Doing good. Let's see. Okay, the wastewater plant treated 137 million gallons. They've started their groundskeeping and business as usual there. At the water plant, the surface water treated 32,126,000 gallons. The groundwater plant treated 31,537,000. And at both plants, landscaping and groundskeeping are going on. So we started mowing the yard. And Rob's just preparing for the race and all the festivities. And that's all I got.
Or is our manpower? Can you comment on that? Where are we at on our manpower?
Good.
With full staff?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. I think, I know me and Brad are good. I think Rob is too. I think so.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Rob, will wish him luck as he comes in here. Hopefully it's a non-rainy.
Right.
Everybody stays dry and has a good time and takes their trash with them.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is a report from our town manager. Grant?
Thank you. I just have a couple of items. Council President Noblet and I participated in a Teams meeting with Mayor Hogsett, as well as the other excluded cities and towns in Marion County, to discuss the possibility of a regional development authority being established. It might also include some of the suburban communities around Indianapolis. We had about an hour discussion on what that meant. It can provide things like financing authority to take out bonds or do major regional projects. It also could be a vehicle potentially for future funds through the federal government, like the ARPA funds that we've received, ready grants, et cetera. There's a lot of different applications. We just need to do a little more research to better understand that. We have been provided with a resolution. I got that late Friday afternoon. Need to review that with Bob and then look at forming our own potential. I think it's an ordinance and a resolution to support this process. So it's something I want to do a little more research and then send to the council so you can discuss that. And but I just got it on Friday. So that's one item. Last week was Public Service Recognition Week. This week, in fact, tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., 7 to 9 a.m., we will be providing our town employees with a breakfast, pancake breakfast. So look forward to seeing them tomorrow. I know there's several department heads that are going to help cook. I'm going to cook. I think Jacob said he would cook. A couple of other department heads say they would. So appreciate our employees, their hard work. And we know that a pancake breakfast doesn't make everything great, right? It's just a way for us to show, a simple way to show that we do appreciate them. So hopefully there's a good turnout and everything goes well tomorrow. I also worry that maybe we hurt someone with our pancakes that we make, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll be fine. So that's all I've got today.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Next on the report would be a report from our council members, Eileen Fisher.
So what more in the month of May to appreciate our employees, right? The busiest month that they work, so ahead of time. So thank you to our department heads for helping out and sponsoring that. The only thing I would like to say is that, our weather's getting nice. We have more bikers out, more pedestrians out walking, and that we need to slow down through driving through our neighborhoods and make sure that everyone is safe. So it's extremely important. Nice weather, people turn up the radios, and next thing you know, they're going faster than maybe Mario over at the track. So we just need to make sure that our kids are safe and even just our adults are out walking. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilor David Lindsay.
I know the chief mentioned about parking restrictions, but I think it's important to mention we've been, because of COVID and then the crowds at the track the last couple of years, we've not had to deal with much traffic. And the residents need to be reminded that you're not going to be able to get too much of any place on race weekend, and have patience with the chief and with his crews that are out there trying to get you there safe and get you out safe. So just that word of caution to follow the officer's directions, and if you're not going to the race, stay home and enjoy the festivities and wait till everybody's gone before you leave. So that's all I have.
That's good. Councilor Gary Pettigo.
Just want to remind everybody there's still a major shortage of blood and platelet donations here in Marion County. So if you're physically able and have the time, please consider donating. Also would want to mention, as I drive through parts of our town, a lot of our residents have really stepped up and done some manicuring, to their homes and their lawns and their flower beds, and it looks great. I'd like to see a few more residents step to the plate and do the same thing. This is an opportunity for us to showcase ourselves and our community to the world, and to have grass that's a few days beyond needing mowed. We just need to correct those things here in the next couple of weeks and put our best foot forward. That's all I have.
Good. Vice President.
Well, the three things I was going to say was be aware around the parks. Eileen kind of took care of that. David mentioned the busy month of May and all the visitors we'll have, and being aware of traffic. And Gary talked about the other item I was going to mention, and I was just going to tag on to that. There's a few of us, on my particular street, there's a couple of folks that are elderly, and several of us on the block just help a little bit. If you can cut someone's grass once a month and 3 other people on the block do the same thing, that problem's taken care of. And those people are tremendously grateful for that, and it solves the problem that they have oftentimes. So just time to be neighborly, I guess, is what Gary was saying in another way. So that's it.
Okay. Move on to a report from Council President. Just have a few things that I'd like to discuss in our conversations with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They're anticipating a large crowd, and I think last year the crowd was for people's in the seats. You know, they really didn't have an infield crowd, which is a whole nother crowd. And I think there's going to be a lot more camping that's going to go on the several days before. I noticed that the Legion is almost full right now. I've never seen it. I mean, as full as what it is today. If that's any indication in relationship that the traffic load through Speedway and in and out around Speedway is going to be heavy. So we definitely got to make sure that we're in good shape. So we definitely do need, people that are willing to help and get out there. We're going to have several events, Run 317 coming up. And Lions Club is going to be parking up in the field. We're taking care of all the vendors parking that come in at midnight. So if anybody can't get to sleep at night before the race, come on over. Maybe we can help you out with that. I know Ron, Lean's husband, has done that several years and appreciated his help in that. But there's a lot of opportunities out there. And I think we have a lot of events taking place on Main Street. It's a great time to socialize with your fellow citizens out there in town and get to know a lot of people. It was great seeing the Mini come through our town. And it was still of a cool morning, but there was a lot of people out there. I know Jeff sold a lot of coffee that day, for sure. But it's always amazes me the amount of buzz then and the feeling that takes place on the west side. You see more people outside mowing grass and taking care of the streets, and I think our street department does a great job of keeping ahead of it, from that standpoint. So kudos to them and that. That's all I've got for this session. If there's nothing else to come before the council, it's 7:48. I'm going to call it for adjournment.